Does anybody else feel like they're never going to be a real adult? There's no punchline. I'm asking a serious question. If you do feel that way, I'm here to let you know that you're probably right. The first time I can ever remember feeling this way was when I was 10 years old. I was riding in the car with my mom, and she was furious with me, as she often was. I don't remember specifically what this particular explosion was about, but I assume it had something to do with school and grades and not doing my homework. I was a mediocre student at best, and she was always extremely upset with me for not getting better grades. But she was going on and on lecturing about, the real world and how life was gonna be, and she said something that I will never forget. This stuck with me so hard. She told me that in life, I was going to have to spend 2/3 of all my time doing things I did not want to do. And that the rest of the other 1/3 of the time, I would get to do things that I did want to do as a reward for spending 2/3 of my life doing stuff I didn't want to do. That was her explanation. And in that moment, I knew intuitively somehow that this was never going to be my life. I was never going to actually be able to live that way. It would be too oppressive, too overwhelming. Not even like I didn't want to do it. It was just, I knew that I was gonna have to think of a different way to exist because I would not actually be able to do what she was describing. And then looking at it now, I understand that she wasn't trying to depress me. She was just a concerned parent trying to impress on their child that sometimes in life, you gotta do some things you don't feel like doing. But that wasn't quite how I heard it. It's not that I don't appreciate what she was trying to do for me there. I just think her math was way off. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not actually using this microphone right now. My podcast microphone has a USB input, and I have no way to plug it into the camera. I don't have the right adapter for this, but I'm still sitting here using it as a prop because I like the feeling of talking into a microphone. It makes me feel a little bit more like I'm a real YouTuber. Just let me have this, okay? The other incident that I remember having with my mother about adulthood, she's trying to get me to do my homework, and she has me sitting at my desk in my bedroom focusing on this homework, and she leaves the room and she comes back, and I have decided, this was not my mind wandering off. I made this very calculated decision, and I determined that I wasn't very interested in this activity, or I didn't really see the benefit of doing it. I had a music box. It was one of those things that popped open and there was a ballerina that spun around and it played some music. I was about 8 years old. The music box was broken, and I remembered that it was broken, and I was gonna take apart this music box, and I was gonna see if I could fix it. And I did that. I kind of just got in there and I took it apart, and I was looking at the pieces and I was trying to figure out how it worked. And my mother came back in and saw me with the taken apart music box, and I was not doing the homework, and she blew a fuse. She was so angry. And I had this speech prepared for her. I was like, listen, I've figured it out. I've made this calculation. This is more important to me right now, so I'm going to fix the music box instead of doing the math problems. And she was trying to get me to do something I needed to be doing, and she exploded and was like, you need to sit down and get these math problems done right now, because this is what matters, and whatever else you think matters right now, forget it. It's not important. This is what matters. I'm telling you this. Not being a villain in the story, just being a parent, And she storms out of the room, and my child brain evaluates what just happened. My interpretation of situations like this was that if something felt important or meaningful to me, or it seemed like a good idea, I had better keep that to myself. Because when I expressed to adults what felt important to me, it was nothing but trouble. And I remember, and this sounds extremely dramatic, but just having this sinking feeling something was really wrong with me. Like I was a person who was not going to be okay in the world. Like the person I fundamentally was kind of wrong or off somehow. If I wanted to be all right, I was gonna have to figure out how to be somebody else. I spent about 35 years searching for this person that I could become, who would be cool and likable and normal and not a problem. And I never did find that person, but I have to tell you, the looking was a lot of fun. I can't complain about it. It was sometime just this past year that I suddenly came to meet face to face my worst fear in life, which was this was never going to change about me. This is really who I am. I'm never gonna find this perfect relationship that's going to fix me. I'm never gonna stumble upon some perfect job that will turn into this career I can keep for 30 years or even 10 or 15. I'm never gonna find some way to just turn my personality into a person who's really comfortable in a corporate setting. I'm never just gonna be this housewife. I'm never just gonna be straight. Hi, I'm Kat. I'm 47 years old and I've never owned a couch. Too much trouble, too expensive, can't make the commitment. And it's fine. It's okay. I thought for almost my entire life that I had to become an adult. I had to settle myself down. I had to lock it in, figure it out. I had to become this person who knew what they were doing and had checked off the boxes. Or if I reached a certain point in my life and this had not happened, I would just not be able to be here anymore. I thought that if I reached the point I'm in my life right now, if I got here and I had not become a person who folded the laundry and put it away in the drawers or had a mortgage, I would just not be able to exist anymore. And I was so secretly terrified of this for my entire life. It was the happiest personal realization I have ever experienced because I'm still here. None of that was true. And I am gonna keep on being here. Whether the rest of the world thinks of me as being a particularly successful adult or not, I will continue to get up every day and fight this fight and be here, blue hair and all. There is no real world out there. It literally doesn't exist. This is the wildest thing that we try to shove down children's throats. But when you're like a teenager and people start talking to you and grabbing you and shaking you about how the real world is going to be and how you have to shape up and get ready for it. If you are a young person watching this, or you just maybe have an inner young person who needs a whole lot of love right now, I am here to tell you with perfect authority that there literally is no real world outside of you that you are gonna come crashing into one day. The world you lived in as a kid was perfectly valid and real, and it was just as important as the world that adults were living in or perceiving or trying to project onto you. When we give kids lectures about how the real world is going to be for them, we are doing two things that are really fundamentally terrible and stupid. Number one is completely invalidating their experience. That's bull. The other thing that adults are doing when they try to project this stuff onto young people and they have no idea is they are failing to realize that young people become older people. And as we become older, we create the world we live in. When I was young, when I was like in high school, when I was in college, there was all this rhetoric about what you had to wear to a job interview and how you were going to have to learn how to dress professionally because that was the way the world was. As if there was, in fact, some fundamental set of rules that humanity had been handed by Jehovah on the mountaintop that said, this is the way people have to dress in order to be accepted in the world. People my age really had this idea just pummeled into us that we had to dress in ways that were uncomfortable in order to be accepted in the world. And what happened? We grew up. We became the people in charge, and the three-piece suits sort of went out the window at some point. Like it started with business casual, like you wore beige pants to work instead of a three-piece suit. God forbid women wore pants. When I was in college, it was a dated, old-fashioned notion at the time. They were still telling women, perceived women, that we couldn't wear pants in job interviews because it looked unprofessional. If you went to a job interview, you had to wear a skirt or a dress. I literally never did it once. Young people will get older and they will eventually write the rules for the world they live in. Because the truth is, it's all made up. All the rules are made up. Things don't have to be that way because things don't have to be anyway. Please stop and take a look at these things you want to change or become or have or be or do and ask yourself, is this something I really even want, or is it just something I feel like I'm supposed to want or I'm supposed to have, and somehow I'm going to be valid and more acceptable in the world because I have it? Sometimes we struggle to achieve things because we're blocking ourselves and we have issues we need to work out in coaching or therapy or something. We need to change our behavior. But a lot of the time in life, the reason why these adult goals elude us is because they were never our goals to begin with. Stop waiting to reach a magic age where you will have it all figured out, or you will have any of it figured out. Nobody does that. It's literally all made up. Nobody has it figured out. Nobody has it together. Nobody knows what they're going to be doing for the rest of their life. You can drop the quest to find the thing that's going to make you an adult. We are all just getting up and doing the best thing we know how to do in any given moment of every day. The most misery that comes to us in adulthood comes to us when we believe we have figured it all out and we get the thing that's supposed to make us happy. We get the job, we get the relationship, we get the house. We arrive at that moment that was supposed to make us the adult, and we realize we're still the same person. I had this nuclear family with 2 kids. We lived in a townhouse in Seattle, and I had everything that I thought was going to make me this adult. And they were nice things, and they were lovely things, and those were good experiences. I'm not saying it was a terrible life, but I think the most lost and broken I ever felt in my life was when I reached the point where I had all the things that the world told me were adult things. I had achieved those things, and boy did the world praise me for it. Boy did the world tell me my hardwood floors were nice. Look at you being a good mom. The lostness and the brokenness came from being in that moment and realizing that I was still me. I had not become the other person. I hadn't figured it out. I think sometimes those are the most heartbreaking, miserable moments. It's not failing to get the things we want. It's getting the things and realizing they don't really solve it. Look, maybe something's going to change for you and you're going to get settled into a career at some point. Maybe that'll happen. But if it never does, you are not less than because that thing never happened for you. Buying a house, getting married, having children, having a high-paying job, being able to take expensive vacations, none of these things are the be-all, end-all of human existence. Stop telling yourself you are less than because you're not dating anybody right now and your apartment is sort of a mess. I will never be an adult. I will never be what I was told an adult was. Or maybe more accurately, I will never feel the way I thought being an adult would make me feel. I will never feel settled down and comfortable. I will always, as long as I am alive, have to get up every day and fight for it. I will always have a struggle to pay attention, stay focused, and keep going. That's never going to be over for me. And I have never been happier about an understanding of anything in my entire life. Because I understand now that my value does not come from having or doing the things. I am valuable because I am here, and I am me, and I am one of one. And I get up every day and I bring what I have to the table. I am here contributing what I have to give. And if what I have to give doesn't work for you, I'm not sorry, because this is what I got. Most of what we call adulthood is pretty overrated, and those things aren't necessarily the way we add value to the world. Maturity can't be bought. Some of the people I know in this world who have the most material possessions are the least mature. You can't buy emotional regulation or empathy or patience. You have to develop them by working on yourself. And that is the stuff the world needs more of right now. And you can start working on all of that anytime you want, and it does not cost us anything to get started. You are valuable. I promise you, you have things to contribute. And there are ways you can cultivate qualities in yourself that will bring things to the table that are more precious and more needed and will bring you more happiness than any level of adulting will ever do. Please leave me a comment, because it's literally my favorite thing on earth when I get to talk to you guys in the comments. Thank you so much for existing, and I don't have anything else to say.